I can't believe that I started making memes and I'm sitting in your office. I'm so scared my VA rating is going to take an impact. But
it depends on how good this podcast goes, and we'll figure. No, we're glad to have you here. This is every veteran's office. It's not just mine. It's every veteran's office.
This episode is sponsored by Remedical. Hey, veterans. Ever feel like navigating the VA disability claims process is like trying to march in quicksand? I don't know how much you know about quicksand. It's not great to march through. Well, here's some good news. Remedical, that's Romeo Echo Echo Medical, is here to support you as you march right out of that mess. And you can keep moving forward. Whether it's a first-time claim or an increase in your existing status, Remedical connects you with independent providers who can document your symptoms with the precision of a sniper. Only Carlos Hathcock is a better sniper than them. They provide the accurate and thorough medical evidence you need to support your VA claim. With a network of experienced physicians, Remedical has helped over 75,000 veterans. Can you believe that, Blas? 75,000 veterans.
That's a big number.
That's a big number, but we're going to blow right past it. They'll explain all your options before you even think about paying anything. No more mystery, just clarity and competence. At the After Action podcast, we're not just fans of Remedical, we're customers too. Blas, what's it like working with Remedical?
Listen, Zach, I'm not going to lie. When you presented the option of going to Remedical, I was super skeptical, man. I was already done with the VA process. They threw me through the ringer, had me waiting for who knows how long. Anywhere from 6 to 12 months is what I experienced. I know there are veterans out there who have probably experienced a lot longer. When you had mentioned Remedical, like I said, I was skeptical. I gave them a call, though. Like you said, free consultation. I had nothing left to lose. I picked up the phone, gave them a call, told them exactly what I was going through and the troubles that I was experiencing. They said, no problem. Just send us over your medical records. We'll take a look at them. And if we can help you, we'll reach back out. Not even 24 hours later, I got a phone call telling me that my ratings were not sufficient to what the standard actually was, and that if I wanted to move forward, they'd be glad to help me. Almost 12 months later, I finally got my rating back from the VA, where I couldn't be more happy with the results. If you're out there and you're struggling and you're sick of running through the VA process and you're tired of getting to run around, go to Remedical. I promise you they'll help you and they'll guide you through the process with no pressure and get you the rating you deserve.
I couldn't think of a better personal endorsement than that right there. I got to watch him go through the process myself, and it has been a life-changing outcome for him and his family. Don't settle for frustration or unfavorable decisions. Check out the link in the description for a free consultation and $200 off Remedical services. It's time to get what you deserve. Hey guys, Veteran with a Sign here, and I've got something game-changing to share with you. If you're a protector, a parent, or just someone who wants to be ready for whatever life throws at you, this is for you. The USCCA just dropped an unbelievable deal on self-defense training that you can't afford to miss. Here's the scoop. They've launched a new site where you can go sign up for over 1,600 in-person self-defense courses nationwide. And the kicker? They're 100% free through the end of the year. That's right, no strings attached. This is your chance to learn real-world self-defense skills from experienced instructors in your own community. Whether it's building a home protection plan, mastering situational awareness, or diving deep into the laws of self-defense, these expert-led classes are designed to give you the confidence and tools to protect yourself and your loved ones. Don't wait. Go to uscca.com/veteranwithasign right now. Find a course near you and sign up today. Opportunities like this don't come around often, and spots will fill up fast. Take action now, invest in your safety, and level up your skills. That's uscca.com/veteranwithasign to get started today.
Well, welcome to a very, very special edition of the After Action podcast. I don't know how we got here. I don't know how they let me in, but I'm truly grateful to be sitting here with the Secretary of the VA, Mr. Doug Collins. Thank you so much.
I'm glad to be here, and I'll just have this. You're now going to have to make me reassess all the security measures that we have in the front as we go in. But no, we're glad you're here. Put you at ease a little bit. No, we're good. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, they made me take off my sunglasses and my hat. So this is the first time.
But thanks to Christy, you didn't have to take your shoes off, so that's okay.
Yeah, it's yeah, we're safer now. But no, I'm just I'm humbled and honored to be here.
I'm glad you're here.
Everyone's. The new administration's coming in. There's a lot of things that are happening, and I can't even believe we're here right now because we're at a time in our country that'll be remembered for a long time. But like, I have hope for the first time in a long time. But before we get to all that and all the questions I got from the community and everyone else, I just wanted to talk about you.
That's it. All right.
And from what I understand, you're a man from Georgia. Is that true?
Oh yeah, I'm Georgia.
Where at?
Born and raised. Gainesville, Georgia, which is about 60 miles northeast of Atlanta on Lake Lanier. I grew up there. My dad was a Georgia State Trooper, 31 years retired there. So I always like to say he was 6'2", 250 pounds. I fought the law, and the law won every time. I mean, I was a scrawny kid. He used to think, the height of fun with my dad, who I love dearly. By the way, as we record this, it is his 87th birthday, and he is just one of my heroes in life. And as he goes by, but he used to coach football. He would coach basketball. He was always there for us, even though he worked, all the time. But that's where I was, born and raised. My mom was there. She worked with senior adults, and so for me, it's that kind of a background that I had a good childhood as normal as best you can, but I always wanted with him working and the way we didn't have a lot, but we really frankly didn't know it. But I love to read. I love to listen to music. That's what took me around the world. Little did I know, you talk about sitting in this office, little did I know this trooper's kid from North Georgia would be in the cabinet of the country, but also have had the chance to serve in Congress, but also in the military for 24 years, be in Iraq, go all over the world. I mean, it's just, I think this country is the most amazing place in the world.
It really is. I mean, I'm by no means trying to be political, but when I think about America, I think about the idea of a place where you can literally change your whole life and generations of life, your family, in just a small amount of time.
Oh yeah, I call it the tree changer, so to speak. It's the family tree. You always say it provides this country has a great opportunity. And look, do we still have issues and things like any country? Yeah, but it's a place where you have that opportunity. And for me, it's grown through my service, not only in the Air Force, but even as we go forward in the Navy, but also working in government, working in the community. Being a pastor for 11 years, a lawyer, those kind of things just all come together to give you an experience in this country that really, makes it great. I'm a huge proponent of the First Amendment. I love, anybody, you have the right to be wrong, or just as much as I have the right to be right or wrong as well. That's what we have, and government's not going to stop that. But what concerns me is when, you get this idea that people feel that, this isn't a place where you have, for a kid from North Georgia could come to this place. And when they start losing sight of that because we get so accustomed to the good that we have that we forget how great we could truly be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where I heard it, but I use it all the time. We have freedom of speech. We don't have freedom of consequences.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you can say and do whatever you want. I don't know what will happen after that.
And also the great thing about that is I don't have to agree with you.
Yes.
I mean, we've sort of lost that in this country. There's a group of folks that, well, if you got to agree with everything I say. No, I don't. I mean, I've been married to my wife for 37 years. I love her more than anything, past my faith in my Lord. But we disagree all the time.
No.
Mostly she's right. But, other than that, we make it.
I feel seen. Yeah, I know exactly how you feel.
She knows where I am. Thank you.
No, I know exactly what you're saying. It's just an interesting time because it seems like there's so much input online, in person, all these different things. But like what's been interesting from the outside looking in is you're navigating it with just the greatest of ease, or at least it appears that way. Like it's not like it's been traditionally before that a lot of the secretary postings, and I'm not saying anything negative about them, that they were kind of on the back end of the digital age, but like you can't run from it now. No. It's on top of you.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think it's that you've done in your past that's put you in a position to be like, I can handle this? Is it being a lawyer? Is it being, a chaplain? Is it being a pastor? I mean, you got more jobs than anybody I know. I mean, we have so many different things. What do you think helped shape that?
Yeah, my sweet mom, who passed away about 8 years ago, used to say, that she would joke, and my dad as well, is that one day Dose will grow up and have a real job, because I've had so many. But I believe that life experience is like a country road back from where I'm from. We're in the foothills of the mountains, and an old country road, especially in the mountains, it's twists and turns. I mean, you go one way, and I believe also we have seasons of life. I think there's times in your life, and a lot of military folks understand this because it's the nature of who we are. You serve for 10 years, or you serve for 8 years, or you serve for 25 years, or even 30. And then for most of us, we're still in our 30s, 40s, or 50s, and that's a lot of life still left to go. So what is that next season? So for me, it's just been a more of a season, I think, preparing me for the time I'm at in my life right now. I learned when I first started pastoring, I even go back further than that, when I got out of college in the Stone Ages, back a long time ago.
Where'd you go to college at?
University of North Georgia. Okay. It was North Georgia College back then.
Okay.
Up in North, it's one of the 5. It was really interesting. It's one of the 5 senior military colleges in the country.
Really?
But yet I commuted because I had to pay for my schooling, and I was allowed to. If you were within 20 miles and lived at home, you could commute. So I was a commuter puke the whole time I was there. Good friends, though, who graduated, dear friends who was from high school together, and some who watch this podcast or listen to this podcast will know, Joe and Jamie Gerard both went on to 3-star careers in the Army. In fact, Jamie was commander at Delta Force. So all of us went to North Georgia during that time.
That's a good spot.
Well, it's pretty good as we go. But going back in, I thought I was going to go to law school then, and I was going to be a lawyer, and in politics, I enjoyed all that kind of stuff. And reality hit me, and I didn't get in where I wanted to go, and didn't get into school for law school. So all of a sudden, I was married and in need of paying rent, and so started working in sales, started working in jobs, and said, this is what I'm going to do, and then it progressed to a calling that I had on my life for the pastoring, and that's how I went and got my master's during my time at Chicopee. But I just say you grow everywhere you're at. And anybody listening to this is find the place where you're at right now and grow. Bloom where you're planted. My folks around here hear it all the time. Bloom where you're planted. Too many times we're always sitting in a chair wondering what the next chair is going to be. Why don't you just figure out the comfort level of that chair, and then I believe, from my perspective, God's going to give you the next chair. You just got to perform where you're at. And so I think it all prepared us for this. I think that time of, dealing with senior adults at a little place called Chicopee Baptist Church, when I had 48 grandparents when I walked in. I had none at the time, and I had a 2-year-old. And my daughter, she rolled in her little pink wheelchair, and my wife and I, we skewed the age by 40 years. I learned more from some of those senior adults. Many of them World War II. Had 3 World War II vets that were between D plus 3 and I think D plus 15 on D-Day.
Whoa.
In our church. This is 3 guys from the community that were like that. And hearing their tales of how they left, and we think about it today, we think of terms of deployment. Well, you're going to deploy for a year. You're going to deploy, and we may or may not come back. I mean, that's always the reality. But literally, they wasn't deploying.
Yeah.
They were go in, get injured or killed.
Yeah.
Or that's the only way you come home. And so it's a whole different mindset.
Didn't the contract say duration then?
Yeah, the duration of the war.
Yeah.
One of them, it always impressed me. We talk about, and I've so much love what I do here at the VA with our caregivers and our families and our veterans that come up. But I remember Mr. Ingram telling me the story one time. He was a sweet man, lived right behind the church, him and his wife. And he was talking about when he came home. And how nowadays we talk about, deployment, redeployment, and we meet you and all this kind of. He literally got to come home, got to Atlanta, took the train, got off the train, and walked about, I think it was like 4 or 5 miles from where the train station was. And he was walking up the street in this little community called Chicopee, and his wife was walking across the road, and that was the first time she knew he was coming home.
Whoa.
She just looks up, and there he is. So,
That's
again,
incredible.
it's pretty, so you learn from everything in life. So for preparing you for this seat, I think it's a lot of different things. But we're in a time right now to where you've got to address, from social media through everything else. And I'm not one to sit idly by. I think there's things that has to change, and how we communicate is important. But also, something you mentioned earlier, and I was thinking about this. We've also, in a society today, we think that we've unfortunately also got to where everything gets fixed overnight. We have a microwave society. And it's sort of funny because I'll do these podcasts, and I've had some great ones, and I'll do our social media. And it never fails. I'll look down on the comments, and there'll be some here, and I love you, you're going to do it anyway. They were kind of, well, that's not my experience. I've had this time, and I've waited this long. And it's like, I get it. I've been
Yeah.
here 6 months. Okay, not everything is going to be perfect for you. Let's look at it. How do we fix it so then yours can be made better too? So
Yeah.
I just encourage everybody out there, look, I get it. The VA's had some issues. I don't run from that. I'm not one of those that says, oh, we're a great thing. No, we've had our issues, but we're working on getting them fixed. And all we ask for is, if you got a problem, let us know. We're going to try and fix it.
Oh, they're letting people know.
Oh, I believe me. I see it. And I get it. It's, we've earned it. We've been there, and you'll have no greater advocate from me. But don't let and so many times I see people doing this number. They're driving their car like this. And, they're looking backwards. And that's fine to understand where you came from, but I got to look forward.
Well, and with the individual veterans experience, I've found just in my life personally that people can't see the forest for the trees. And what helps me is I'm by no means a VA apologist, but I spent a decade in healthcare in Nashville. So I have a greater understanding of how healthcare
I'm
works,
glad to hear that.
as opposed to like most other people. It's also government. I don't know if it's not government run. I don't know what the right word is, but yeah, it is government run healthcare. So like,
Well, your taxpayers dollars pay for it.
well,
So,
yeah, but it is, but like
we're not private.
It's not private by any means. But like it's like a ship.
It is.
It's a big ship, and if you're going to turn a ship, it takes time.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just spin on a dime.
We're not a ski boat. I mean,
No.
it's by no means. We're about 3 aircraft carriers combined into one. And I think you've hit on a good topic that I want every veteran to understand. The VA itself is larger than the active duty Army. Now think about that in terms of just, wow. In fact, we got 170 plus hospitals. We got 1,200 CBOCs. We got over all this going on, and that's not even counting the benefit side of the house and the cemetery side of the house. There's 3 basic components of the VA. Look, there is a lot. And one of the things I have found is, and this is one of the things we're trying to correct, I got some great employees out there who I think truly want to do a good job, but we many times trip ourselves up. And your healthcare experience on the outside, so to speak, of the VA is something that we should think about, because no hospital outside the VA determines life or death structure on wait times. You never heard this probably if you worked in nobody.
No, not like that.
It's not wait time, but wait time here is an issue. Disability backlogs, which we've, by the way, dropped almost 80,000 here in the last 2.5 months. But I'll tell you why it matters, because Capitol Hill, where I used to work for 8 years and was in leadership up there, I speak the language. They have to have measurables that's easy to talk about. So the measurables are, well, if they didn't get in a wait time, well, we're going to make sure that they get your appointment time faster. Okay, well, I don't hear you saying that for your people, 80 other percent of your constituency that are waiting 4 or 5 days at their local hospital for the same kind of a wait time or the same kind of specialty clinic. But again, it's the VA. There's 535 members of Congress who all have a say, and it's easy sometimes to say we're going to help the veteran when we're maybe in some place setting up an expectation that is very difficult to meet. Not that we're not going to try, and we've already flattened out wait times. We're actually lowering for mental health. We've actually lowered in just a few months mental health wait times, referrals to our community by the things that we've been doing. But we've got to also get back to realizing that and I say this all the time, we're special, but we're not unique. We're special in that we get to take care of veterans. It's the greatest gift that we have. It's the only people we take is veterans. But we're not unique in the sense that there's a lot of folks who do healthcare. And so we've got to do that healthcare piece as well as you see anywhere else, and do it with our veterans as a whole.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I said, it's impressive. Like you're in the mix. I've seen a few secretaries like this. I actually had the pleasure of interacting with Bob McDonald during his time.
Remember Bob?
He went to West Point with a friend of mine, Ken Huber, and so that's the closest I've been to a general without being in trouble. But back to your military time, so you're a chaplain, correct? And you're in the Air Force.
Yes.
Why'd you pick the Air Force?
Well, I'll be honest, I was in the Navy. I got on my original officer training and stuff, and some of the original chaplain training through the Navy, and I was in that program, reserve program, and it was we're going through it, and at a time my daughter, who I mentioned a few minutes ago, she has spina bifida, so she was born about the time I was in, and we had a lot of specialty care needs. So at that time, our church was growing. There were just a lot of issues, and I said I need to step back here for a minute because they really wanted me to go to active duty, and at that point, our family life just wasn't going to set that. And for about 6 years, I was out. Of course, 9/11 happened. I've been wanting to go back in, and when I went back, it was still sort of the Navy said, "We love you, but we need you in a fleet. We need you to go out."
Yeah.
And I picked up the phone, and I think it was just one of those God things for me. I picked up the phone, called Colorado, where was the headquarters was at the time, and a chaplain named Don Smith, who went on to be our chief reserve chaplain, picked up the phone, and we began a conversation. And he ended up, one of my judges in town's wife was like a cousin, and we just hit this off, and Air Force was very hard to get into at the time.
Still is.
And still is.
Yes.
And
they weren't letting me in. They shut the door. They're like,
no.
Keep going. Go to the Marines.
Have fun with that. But no, and we got in, and so that's how I got back to the Air Force, because they had a reserve slot that was one, and I've been blessed in it. I've deployed to Iraq. I've been all over, and I'm ended up actually the office that got me in. Last December, I finished before I had to come up here, and I'm still in. But that was my last assignment, was headquarters at Afric in the chief chaplain's office there
In AFCOM?
down at Warner Robins.
Whoa.
So Air Force Reserve Command.
So when was your first deployment?
08, 09.
08, 09 to Iraq?
To Balad.
I didn't go to. I did Afghanistan twice.
That was actually my first. When they first cut orders was Bagram.
Really?
They first cut orders to Bagram,
Whoa.
and so that's where I was, thinking. And then they came down on the hit, and then when orders started getting officially cut, they changed me to Balad. And it was an interesting time because middle of 08 and through the first of 09. We were just coming down from the surge a little bit. We were still seeing a lot of issues with people in convoys and IEDs and all the, our hospital up there, of course, was the Heroes Highway, for those who remember that flag draped, when they bring them in off the helicopters.
Yeah.
We always had a thing, if the person could see the flag or they come in under that flag, there was over a 98% move rate. In other words, if we could stabilize them, 98% got to at least Germany or back home.
Really?
Yes. And that should be something our healthcare system here should model, but it's a whole different conversation for another day. But no, I enjoyed it. I was a nighttime flight line chaplain there. Got to go all over the base, some places that even my COs didn't know, but that's fine.
Well, that's what the RP is for.
Yes, we're way past the time of getting me in trouble on that one. So and I survived. So that was the only thing
I mean, that's the one thing, you don't want chaps to get lost.
Yeah, chaps are fine. We were all good.
Yeah.
But a lot of good folks, and it was great there because it was sort of like it was very much here. It's a joint experience.
Yeah.
And because we had basically everybody who was on that base, and had three. All the time it had gotten up to almost 30,000 plus people. Yeah,
my only issue with chaplains is that I feel like people don't really understand what all you guys do, and they're underutilized by the troops.
Yep.
I had a very close personal relationship with my chaplain because at that time so my first tour was in 08. And he was doing this I can't remember what the program was called, but he came around with a camcorder and he had like 10 books.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I would read the books to my daughter.
Oh, that's so cool.
Who had just been born.
I remember those.
Yeah, just been born at that time. I mean, she was born 2 days later. I was in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And but prior to doing the workup stuff, I was always like with him and checking in. He was checking in on me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it then, but he was helping me through this very stressful time of a workup, a deployment, and a birth, and all those things.
Well, I think that the chaplain's role is and it's something I've emphasized here at the VA, but also it's something for my career. The chaplain's role is very personal in a sense that, we're religious. And that's what we're there for. I'm there because of my faith. I'm there because I'm a pastor. I'm there because I've had Master of Divinity. I've been all my stuff through a Southern Baptist life, but my role as a chaplain is to minister to all truths. My job is to keep you ready.
Yeah.
And that may sound interesting because a lot of them say, well, chap, one of the funniest things always, and it's still to this day, I would walk in, of course, a little bit harder as an 06 now to do that, but I used to, when I was captain, I'd walk into the maintenance shop, wherever, and somebody would use one of their words that they didn't think I should hear it. Oh, chap, sorry, I didn't know you were here. It's like, well, let me ask you a question. Would you use it? If it's not good with me, what's good with it? and they would get a laugh out of that. And they say, but I said, it's fine. But I said, I don't care what you say, just as long as you talk to me. And because chaplains provide a safe space, and especially in the Air Force side, that has complete confidentiality. You can come tell me anything, and you own the conversation. So it's a place in which we can do these kind of things, and chaplains are, really there to keep you going. One of the things I always told in newcomers briefings was, I said, and they're always coming in and you see the fresh faces and someone coming in. And the newcomer briefing, I said, look, here's what's going to happen on your reserve weekend, for a reservist. And if active duty, it's the same thing, just a different way. I said, on reserves weekend, on your drill weekend, when you drive out of the yard on Friday night or Saturday morning, the dog's going to run away, the cat's going to get sick, the kids are going to develop a fever, and your wife's mother is all of a sudden developed a need for her to go shopping and have a problem, and you got one car and the car's battery's dead. It's all going to happen in that one weekend. And guess what? You've got to come here, put that out of your mind, and do your job.
Yeah.
And that's where we would, say, look, here's how you balance this. Here's how life is. And so for a chaplain, there's a lot of, not only the spiritual, but that spiritual dynamic plays into our mental, physical, and spiritual, and I think that's what we have to have.
Yeah, for me, it just felt like someone who kind of humanized the whole military experience. Because, at the platoon level, your staff sergeant's job is to train troops. Yep. And then your squad leader, it keeps going down, but, they're focused on that goal. And, it was hard to, I was young. I was getting ready to become a new father and all these different things. I had family in the military, but no one that, I could lean on. And so then I just remember going to his office being like, I'm in trouble. That was my first thought. So I'm trying to get rid of those feelings now. Yeah. But
it's that safe space.
Yeah. Well, it's just underutilized. And I would say it's just misunderstood.
Well, I'll also say this, and again, it's my, not a bias, but it's just an honesty. Unfortunately, in the military, many times, especially when you're in that what I call the middle ground of not only enlisted, to officer. For officer side, it's like 03 to 05 in particular, 06 probably as well. You're scared if you're wanting a career, you don't want to mess up, okay? And, quote, religion becomes the area that commanders don't want to talk about. They don't want because, well, I can't say this or I can't say that or somebody's going to make an IG complaint. And what I'm telling them is look, one, you have a constitutional right for freedom of expression and how you deal with your faith. But we are also there for a purpose, and that is we don't necessarily diagnose anybody. We're not, and yet much time we spend. And I love my mental health folks, but mental health is there for a different reason.
Yeah,
they're there to help you. They're great folks. They do, but a chaplain and mental health are not. I've unfortunately seen a tension in the military. Well, in the mental health folks, so you don't need to go to the chaplain and the chaplain's something. No, we ought to work together because we do separate things. But at the end of the day, the commander ought to see the value of a spiritual component and a mental health component that meets people where they are.
Yeah. It's the triangle of overall health: mental, spiritual, and physical. If you don't have one, it all collapses.
Yep, it does. And we're seeing that out. And where we're missing this is switch, sort of transition to where we're at here with the VA, the transition piece, after they transition out, what was that sort of safety net, that sort of, whether they used it or not, they understood it or not, there was that, component with having access to somebody to talk to or somebody watching out for you. You had that first church, you had that sergeant, you had that whoever said, hey, Joe didn't show up there. When Joe showed up, he looked like crap. What's the problem? Well, they transition out. Well, nobody cares.
Yeah.
It may be a spouse, it may be, a parent, but that's a whole different dynamic. And so one of the things that I think from our perspective is, how we connect them back to people that can hold them accountable in some ways. I think everybody ought to have an accountability partner in life. And it doesn't need to be necessarily your boss or it's just somebody that, hey, how you doing? And so when they get out, they lose that and they're unsure. And if they don't know where to turn, this is why the unfortunate rates of homelessness and death by suicide are so prevalent in those first 3 to 5 years after getting out. Because unfortunately through either undiagnosed issues or whatever, they're struggling on their own and they don't really have somebody to help them find their way out.
It's the hardest part. The hardest part is getting out and going home and realizing there's no one else like you.
Yeah.
And for me, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and when I got back, there's a great group of guys. I would meet them like every year for the Marine Corps birthday, and one time they got me so drunk my wife had to pick me up. But she asked why, and I said, "Well, babe, he was at Iwo Jima, and he told me I had to drink, so I did what I had to do."
Any excuse there. The big color crayons come out.
Well,
there
that was it. That was it. I had to get wheeled out of that basement, but the hard part was but there were also generations, completely different generation me, and like I couldn't like go to them with like stuff that I was going through, and so it's been a thing now that I try to do with like Veteran with the Sign and the podcast as well. It's trying to create that community that really has a lot of people that support from various different backgrounds and stuff, because what I found is that we were all kind of looking for each other. Yeah. Well, we're looking for a battle buddy.
Well, you are, and I think this is, if nothing else comes out, and there's going to be a lot come out of our conversation, but if there's nothing else out there, is somebody listening to this podcast, watch it, look at your social media or anything else, is find that connection. You're not alone. And although you may feel that way, you're not alone. And we've got to get back into this part that the VA is going to do everything it can to provide services to that. If you take it, 60% of those, however, who choose or have death by suicide have never had contact with the VA.
Can you say that again?
60%.
I've never had any
contact.
contact.
20 to 22 number, whatever number you want to use, is about 60% do not have contact with us. And so now that doesn't mean that they may not have had contact with a private physician or anything like that, but nobody from our perspective that can direct them and sees this on a regular basis to get them, maybe to somebody that can help. So that, for me, I've not only turned what we do, and that's why I'm doing podcasts, that's why I'm doing social media, that's why I do everything else, is it for just a clip, just a moment. If they see something, maybe they'll reach out to somebody. But I'm also turning to my, sisters and brethren in the military on all our branches. Where are your battle buddies? Where are your wingmen? We don't raise our hand and say we're going to do this for an amount of time, and then we forget everybody. Once you get out, make sure that you're out. And I'm asked all the time for people, I'm not a veteran, but how can I help? I said, well, do you know anybody that's a veteran? Yeah. I said, do you keep in contact with them? Do you just drop by to have a cup of coffee? Those are a phone call. How many times in your life, think about this, and anybody listening or watching right now will do this. Somebody you thought about, or something was going on, and you got a call or a text or an email, or back in my day, a letter that just hit right where you were going. They just, that one thing that just sort of snapped and said, wait, okay, I wasn't expecting this. It was that call out of the blue, like, why did they call? Those are the things that matter. And I think we see this over time. We've got to make sure that we're literally keeping up with those that are around us.
Yeah. And it's something that when I least expect it, it's right where I need it.
And from the old chaplain perspective here, God knows exactly what we need.
Oh yeah.
he never missed.
There are no coincidences.
He's rarely early and never late.
No, there are no coincidences. Every time I'm like, well, that was kind of serendipitous. And I'm like, God, there's much more to it than that, I think.
It is.
There's much more to it. It looks like there's much more to you. I'm so sorry. It's just, I'm fascinated by you. And I promise I'm leading to a point.
No, we're good.
But so you're a pastor, you're a chaplain, and then you're like, law school?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be a lawyer?
Yeah,
is that the time when you're like, now lawyer, and then that'll take me to Congress?
No, it was, I was 38 years old.
Okay.
About 36 when it started. I've described this many times before. It was just something, the church was doing great. We were having a good time. My kids were growing up. I mean, my wife was teaching school, and it was just, something just wasn't right. I'd go home in the afternoon after services, and the church was growing. We had people join her, and I've, by the time I got 2 miles down the road, I was just sort of a homesick and in tears. And my wife understood this, and one day, I was at home, and she had to have a doctor's appointment, so she was one of those weird days. She was off, and I was off at the house at the same time. Kids were at school, and I remember saying to her, I said, something to the effect of, right now I'm just miserable. And she said, in classic Lisa format, if anybody ever meets my bride, you'll understand the strength of this 5'2" blonde woman. She said, well, what are you going to do about it? And it just sort of hit in that way that only that closest to my heart could say it. And we began to talk, and through some changes, through some stuff that's going on, we said, well, maybe this is time to try again, because it had been almost 20 years. And So we did, and we didn't tell anybody. I studied for the LSAT again, got it done, got accepted, and I resigned from the church in July of '05 and started on my birthday in August. And I was only income we had was my reserve pay, because I was still doing reserve, and Lisa's full-time work, and then I would just pick up. And I made my sandwiches. We got on the bus. We went to I went to Atlanta, where I was going to law school, and came back at night, coached football, did all the stuff, and then studied on the way back and forth. Got my law degree in 3 years in 2008, which is an interesting time. '08. During the middle of it, though, a seat for the Georgia House, which I had no idea about at the time. I was always involved in politics, but it was not, came open, which was my district. And I was coming home. This was my first year of law school. And I called Lisa. I said, well, this district, I called her and I said, this will put this to bed. I said, the guy's not running. And I said something about, somebody said, so people asked me about it. And she said, well, maybe it's the right time. Okay, so in the middle of law school, I run for the Georgia House. Get elected to the Georgia House. Making the laws that I'm studying is pretty interesting. And so that, again, God added in, it was a minor income, but it was a little bit more income. We made it. But I graduated in '08 in May, took the bar in July, deployed to Iraq in the end of August, and found out I passed the bar on Halloween in Iraq in the desert. That was an interesting moment. And then came back the next January and was sworn into my next term in Congress, into the House.
Sir, with all due respect, you can't tell me your airmen weren't like, who is Chaplain?
Yeah, it was pretty funny when they found out. Because
is that Jason Bourne? He's got like 12 jobs. Like,
no, he'll keep one for a while.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
But no, it's pretty funny because I had some of them would find out. They say, well, what do you do? Because it got to be known I was in the state legislature at the time. It got to be really interesting when I went to Congress. That was a whole different issue. But no, it was fun. We had but it was, for me, it was relatable to a lot of the guys. They understood. They were in a time in their life that active duty, or if they were reservists, you could sort of relate to the different times and spirit in the life going forward. I think it's just give me, I jokingly say sometimes I just have a lot of stuff to talk about at cocktail parties, but but for me, I think it's prepared me. Just, I think everybody, if you go back and you look at your own life, the experiences that you have are not momentary experiences. I think my faith teaches me this, that those momentary experiences are cumulative, because and I'm just going to use the good North Georgia translation for me. Scripture teaches us that we're given things not for our own edification at that moment, but for others. Okay. And I put it that way, and the scripture's more succinct than that, but it basically says, you've not been healed just for yourself. You've been healed, or you've been comforted to comfort others. And so when I look at the times that I've been through, the time that I have a special needs daughter, I have which I never would have grown, athlete kid. I didn't go to the kids in the wheelchairs. Now my daughter is 33 and she's the light of my life. She's one of the first. She's my first child, our child, and I got two boys after that. But I didn't know how to deal with folks who had disabilities. Now for 33 years, I'm the dad of a daughter who physically can't get anything else. She can do most everything else and has a better attitude than I have on anything. So it's those things that help you build to where you're at in that time.
It seems like a common theme in your life is service. I find the best version of myself in the service of others. Would you say that's something that's been applied to you as well?
I think so. I didn't realize it as much over time, because you always want to. I've always said that I want to lead. I don't like just sitting back and watching. I've never been one of those that just I'm fine. And I think every good leader has to be a good follower. I think there's no leader that's really good that also doesn't understand followership. Followership is something you got to learn. That actually some of the best times you can help your leader, and maybe you're in a job, maybe you're in the military right now, and you're saying, how can I support leader? Well, you be a good follower. You're learning in that time as well, but you're a good follower. But I've gotten to that point in my life now to where my greatest joy is seeing somebody else succeed. My greatest joy is watching the staff that I've been able to hire here go out and do great things. My joy is seeing folks who've worked in my congressional office or worked, for me in other times, seeing them get new jobs, seeing them have kids, seeing them get married, I take that is something that if I can help them experience, something that they may not have experienced, and that's my whole job. And as the VA secretary, it's sort of fun because I'll get to go to the hospitals, and if anybody's been around the hospital visit, used to, these were formal visits. The secretary is coming to the VAMC. Everybody, look good. I go in and I sit with the leadership, and I don't let them do a PowerPoint presentation. I don't let them, tell me all the goods. And I'm just sitting there and say, okay, what's your problems? Yeah. And if they don't give me to them, I've already researched that. Okay, are you having issues here, here, and here? What can we fix? And then we do the tour.
Yeah.
And the tour is always fun because they'll have where they want me to go. Well, there's just one issue. I go where I want to go.
Yeah, they can't tell you where to go.
No, man, I haven't had one yet. Say, oh, no, Mr. Secretary, you can't go in there. And I'm like, okay, this will be a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
So I'll go sit in the waiting rooms.
Yeah.
I will walk by a waiting room, and I'll just sit down. Start talking to people that are there.
Really?
Yes.
I'm not that brave.
I do it all the time. In fact, just yesterday, I came in from Colorado. We're going down the VAMC and there and had the long corridor. It's a beautiful facility. And I started the other thing is, and this is another issue, I probably, good or bad, and probably the folks watching this will say that, I have a pretty high profile. From being in Congress, I was there during impeachment. I was there. I was the ranking Republican in the Judiciary Committee. So for months on end, it was me and Jerry Nyler and others that you see on TV almost every night.
Yeah.
So a lot of people know me, or at least they've seen this face is sort of homely, so it's hard to forget. So, they look at it and say, they do this number. And I've gotten used to it because they know they can't place it. So if I was walking down yesterday and this lady, she started looking at me, and then she smiled. Of course, now that my picture's in the place too, so they actually get that.
That helps.
And it does help. Hey, that's me,
Yeah.
And so it didn't help my wife getting in the VA, but that's a whole different issue. That's a whole different issue.
I mean, you want to talk?
No,
sir, you're safe here. You can talk. You can be honest.
This is my own. No, my wife one day showed up here. She got here early, and they wouldn't let her in.
She should have just been like this. That's that. Yeah.
Look, I know him.
That's mine. She just
he
points
got
you.
Up with me this morning. He's not there.
We hear it a lot. We hear it a lot, man. I'm sorry.
No, we better not be hearing a lot. But no, it's funny. But she couldn't get in, so that's what made me think of the picture. But no, this lady was there, and she signed. So I just reached out and said, "Hey," and she said, "I know," and I said, "Hey, I'm Doug," and she said, "Oh, you're the," I said, "Yeah, I'm Secretary of the VA." I introduced myself as Doug, and if they want to know, I know I'm Secretary of the VA. Well, next door, next to the table, there was these three older gentlemen sitting there, and one was in a chair like he was there. He's a patient. And they started, hey, and I said, let me sit down. So I just went to the other side, and I said, y'all mind if I drag up a chair? I drug up a chair, and we sat there for a few minutes, and, everybody else, like 30 people out on the side who were wanting to take me everywhere. They can wait.
Yeah.
These were the most important. He was the most important person because he's a veteran. He's the one getting care in our facilities. I want to know what they're doing. A few weeks ago, I had a chance to go through a waiting room and almost kicked into chaplain mode in the sense of there was a person I was talking to that needed to talk. And fortunately, they called this person's name right after, and they were able to go see him. But this whole world was getting ready to shut down. I was going to stay right there and be with that person until our folks could get to him, and they were doing everything they could. There was no problems here. But you see things in life when you sort of get out of the car or you roll down the window.
Yes.
And so for me, that's just the way I manage. I wish I could solve everybody's problem. I wish I could right now, if you're having a problem and I know you've waited 6 months, you're in the Board of Appeals, you're whatever, I wish I could solve every one of your problems right now. I can't. I don't have enough day, but I can put processes in place to make it better. And the only way I hear about those processes is to actually hear what's going on.
Yeah.
And the only way I can do that is to sit down, listen, and then do the best I can to fix it. Serving others. I used to tell this, and I had a lot of people question me when I said it, but after I learned it, they learned it. I think it fixed. I've never missed anything that I've gave away. I've never missed anything that I willingly gave away. And when you think about that, you think about how much you give away or how much you do, how much comes back to you that you never really realize. But I've never missed anything I've gave away. That 5 minutes, maybe I could have seen something else in the facility. but for that person, maybe it was the time that I'm supposed to be there.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that just kind of like the ripples go out further forever. You have no idea how far that goes with that. Those gentlemen that you spoke with and everyone else, or even just people seeing the secretary of the VA sitting down talking to people. Yeah. Can't get his wife in the building, but he's doing all right. He's doing all right. No, well, that's the stuff that it's, I'm going to try and be as kind as I can, not to you, but just in general, that I have felt in the past that the posting here has been somewhat, the people that have done it before have been somewhat unaware of the reality of the situation and really just kind of like, I don't want to say giving up, but like it's too big. Oh, well, like you're swinging.
Yeah.
That's what I really like about this. I always say like, I used to tell my Marines this when we were in, I was like, listen, this is the plan we got. If you got any ideas, throw them this way. Otherwise, we're going to go. You can tell me it was a bad idea, but this is the only idea we got.
Yeah. Well, I say it all the time here to all my leadership. I've said it to all the VAMPs. I've actually, in the first 6 months, I have been to 17 or 18 states. I visited at least that many hospitals or more, plus the CBOS. Also, I go to all my vet centers, by the way. It was really interesting.
Good. I like the vet centers
The
a
vet
lot.
centers are great.
Yeah.
And what I have found is most senior leadership have never been there.
Really?
It's really interesting. I've talked to a lot of them, and that they didn't. And I love my vet centers. I think they're one of the best things we have going for us, in addition to everything else. But I go to these places because, and I tell them this, under me, as long as I'm in this seat, if you're trying, I want you to try something new. I want you to do it. And as long as you're doing, it's not illegal or immoral, try it. And if you fail, I don't care. I'll come pick you up. Try again. Do something. We've got to get out of this mentality of this is the way we always do it. This is policy, and we're going to stick to policy. Well, the problem is you're not sticking to policy. We get stupid with it. But we're a large organization. And look, I don't know what they may have experienced. And like I said, I have a rearview mirror that just gives me perspective. Rearview mirror should never be your driving force to go forward. That's why you have a much bigger windshield.
Jelly Roll says that.
Yeah.
Jelly Roll, the rapper,
Jelly
says
Roll,
that.
exactly right.
That's why the windshield's bigger than the rear view, so you can see what's ahead of you.
Jelly's good. And long hair, son of a sinner. I get that.
Yeah, see?
I know Jelly well. But
Secretary knows ball.
You ought to see my playlist.
I want to. I really want to.
It goes from everything to classical to Eminem, so we're all in the middle.
Nice.
But I think the thing that we look at is, we get stuff fixed. You move it, and the only way I know how to do that is to be proactive and to make mistakes, learn from mistakes, move forward. And also I know that we're making progress is when people start squealing.
Yeah. There's a lot of that happening. I've got some questions on it. We're going to get to in a second.
I got Congress, again. But here's what I found. Most all of the concerns dealt with the organization, is still, to this moment, deal with the organization with a nod to the veteran. Well, you're cutting staff and you've done this and you can't get this, and because then it hurts the veteran. Say, well, let me ask you a question. Looking at past metrics and everything else, our wait times are going up and you had all this, people going on. What was the problem then? Well, you were feeding the organization, but we're not feeding the reason the organization exists. And that's why a lot of people get, look at me differently when I say that the VA is about the veteran, not the organization. And they say, well, duh. Well, if it was so duh, then we wouldn't have 60% of every call to a congressman or senator's office has something to do with VA. 60%. See, this is where I'm different. Yeah. I'm the first congressional member since almost by the time this was ever a cabinet position to serve in this role.
Yeah.
And so I speak Hill. Now, some of them like me and some of them don't like me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not, I view them as colleagues, as friends, as people who want to help the veteran. I get that. But I'm not, going to back down in what we need to do and what they need to do in their role. So when I see us focused on the organizational structure and be more concerned with how the organization now exists than it does to how that actually produces for the veteran, then I'll be happily be on the right side of history there.
Yeah,
and that's the veteran.
Well, and that's and it's one of the questions I have, but we're gonna, since you're kind of going at it, it's something that like just kind of admire because you're like, yeah, we're cutting this. Yeah. And like the argument is, well, was it helping before? No, it's not. So why do we have this? Mm-hmm. Right. But again, it puts you out there in a spot where they can be like, new secretary of the VA cuts, he's hurting veterans. Like it's just this spin cycle of stuff. And that's what people are like, they're amped up about, and they see the news and they see the thing, then they show up for their appointments and they're all like, no one's helping me. And it's just the kind of stuff that kind of hurts the community the most.
I can walk into any one of, I can walk into our hospitals, our C-Box, and see things that, I would like to change. It's a culture. I can't change it overnight. That's why, I said, we'll get comments on, well, that's a great, but it doesn't help me. I've been waiting. Okay, I get it.
I got a lot of those.
And that's fine. I mean, in fact, we'll get it. We're helping as many as we can. We're actually going through comments, and we're responding to comments.
No, you are.
And so.
You are, because I posted about this. I said, I want questions, and I was like, please leave them here in the comments, because I want everyone to see if their question's been asked or have a conversation. And then I think it's on Twitter, it's the rapid response account. Yeah. That's just like in there going after it. And just,
we started that. That had not existed until this year.
Yeah.
And we started because I was looking, and I don't look at for my own mental health. I don't always look at comments, and I've done this because I was in Congress for years and everywhere else. But it doesn't mean that there's not some validity. And nowadays we've had a society that and again, I'm an older Gen X. I mean, so I'm 58. I'll be 50, 66. Yeah, about 58, 59. Lose track after a while. It doesn't really matter. But there's things that I would never put online that people now are putting online.
Yeah.
So it's gone. So here's an example. Mm-hmm. Do we as the VA only formally look at requests through the 411 number or the 988 number or things sent in? Or do I actually look at where people are at and they're saying, hey, I'm struggling here to get an appointment? Well, we can answer that and see if we can get their appointment scheduled for them. So we're doing everything we possibly can. Can I fix, I'll go back and I'll say it again, can I fix everybody's problem overnight? No. Mm-hmm. But I'm putting the process in place that it will fix as many as we can. The other thing is, and I want to make this clear, because I hear this a lot. Mm-hmm. Well, and we've got this idea out there, we'll just, give everybody a TRICARE card and let them go wherever they want to. Mm-hmm. Okay. But here's an interesting part. The same things that we're held to in the VA, which are fine, that we want to hold good standards everywhere else, these same members of Congress and same members of the media and same union folks don't say anything about HCA and all these other big, local hospitals, private hospitals, and all. They're great people, but they're not going to worry about your wait time.
Yeah.
They're not going to, schedule you. By the way, I hear this from. I was supposed to have my appointment and it got canceled and moved a week. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not in the VA. I have we're on my wife's retirement insurance. My doctor, it's regular for I have go to see my doctor, and I'll get a text 3 weeks in advance. Hey, Dr. So and so is going to be on a trip. Can we move your appointment? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't call my congressman. Maybe I should, but they're not.
Well, you probably know him.
But probably know him. I probably know a few. But you understand what I'm saying. And I don't mean to diminish this. Hear me clearly for the next ProPublica or whatever story. Doug Collins doesn't care about. That's not true. Mm-hmm. There is outlets for us to take and make sure we're doing it better. But are we also measuring in ways that get effectiveness, not just that it's, I'm a veteran and this is what I need to do. And so one of the things we've done, several things we've done. We've taken community care. We've opened up community care again. The previous last few years here, they just had almost shut down community care.
Why'd they do that?
Because there's this belief that the VA needed to stay everything in house so that our funding and our money and we're the VA and we don't think. Well, number one, it's against the law. Mission Act said you had to do this, and they were just ignoring it. We have proof that they were overbooking and everything else just to keep people in the VA. So the numbers will stay up. Here's a surprising number for you. In 10 years ago, the VA enrollment was around 9 million. Mm-hmm. You know what the VA enrollment is now?
Like total numbers of veterans
that we've enrolled in our VA care.
12?
9 million.
Okay.
You know what our employee structure looks like?
Probably not close to that.
We've went up almost, well over 100, or right at 100,000 to more employees total. Mm-hmm. And over $100 billion in budget. 10 years ago, there was 9 million enrolled with a veteran population in this country of between 17 and 18 million. There's now 9 million roughly enrolled with a veteran population of between 14 and 15 million. So, when I first got here, wait times were continually on a trajectory up because we were trying to keep too many in the house, wasn't getting them to where they needed to be. Our backlog was at 260,000 on disability claims.
Yes.
That
you know of.
No, that we knew.
Yeah.
That's the ones that were past 120 days.
Yeah.
Okay. To an extent, I will say from COVID when they couldn't do their appointments and stuff like that. Yeah. But it went down. But it was still at 260,000. Think about it, over 120 days. As we sit here today, we're under 180,000. We've knocked off almost 80,000 in less than 3.5 months. Now, what does that mean? That means that people are getting their answers quicker. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes they don't like it. I get that. But just because it's there doesn't mean it meets the qualifications. That's the other issue we have to deal with. We're making improvements that our wait times have basically, like I said, they instead of trajectory up, they flattened out, and we're going to try and bring them down as we go through our doctors and community care and direct care. Mental health appointments have went down double digits. So getting people into mental health care has been a priority, and we're able to get that done quicker. So I'm just saying, and as we look at this, there's reasons we're trying to make this more efficient, but we're also dealing with, a process that sometimes that I find is amazing. Like we were making people to go to community care have 2 referrals inside the VA. Why are we doing that? Nobody, the healthcare outside where you used to work, they don't make you do that. Your primary care doctor say, hey, go see the cardiologist. I don't care.
Yeah, later.
They just sign it and go. We were making them go too. I had a guy in Colorado just called. I saw him the other day. He come up to me. He said, He said, I know you get enough complaints about the VA. I just want to tell you the story. And I said, okay, what is it? He said, well, I've been waiting. He said, they were going to tell you it's a year, and we were just trying to get appointments. He said, I called back just to check on my status. And they said, well, we just changed, which we did. We just changed the process where you don't have to have that second referral. He said, we got you into, they got me scheduled for an appointment the same week.
That's awesome.
We've took community care, and we've actually done consults. So here's a big problem. Our primary care doctors were given a consult for 6 months to go see a cardiologist or gastroenterologist out in the community where you need it. We're doing it for 6 months. Well, at that point, then they'd have to send back to the VA to get it extended past 6 months. We just said, no, we're going to go to a year. So we extended it starting August 1st. We're extending those in a certain specialist out to a year so that you have that full treatment without having to run back to the VA, without having to go back to the primary care to do this, so we can make this a more continuity of care issue. We're doing things that's going to take a minute to get in the system, but as they get in the system, it's going to take our primary care docs are going to have, instead of doing paperwork all the time, they're going to actually be seeing more patients. We're going to expand our clinic access hours. We've got Vet Express, which is happening in a few of our, I'm really excited about this.
What's Vet Express?
It's basically at our sleep house, just a walk-in. No appointments, no times, you walk in.
Like a Kroger walk-in clinic?
Like a walk-in clinic. And we're doing it right now. It is amazing. And
really?
And believe me, you're going to start seeing it more and more. We got it now in Colorado. I know there's some in Florida. And it was an example.
Nashville.
Nashville.
If you want to put one up,
Nashville.
if you want to,
there you go. We got a vote for Nashville.
I have really great experiences with my VA. I love it. I know half of it's because it's location next to Vanderbilt. I mean, I've had
they're great folks. Yeah,
I've had incredible care there.
Well, and I think, look, and that doesn't mean like we still have the emergency room, but this is for just general. Why do I have to call and wait? Well, if we got the doctors, we have the facilities, and we can walk in and see you, and you're done. Preventative care is so important, and also just that maintenance care is so important. So these are the kind of things we're doing. I mean, we're trying to get the word out, but again, you got to understand, and you made this comment earlier, that it's hard to turn this ship. Yes, it is.
Well, most people just don't understand that, and that's
just make it happen for me,
because it's the problem. There's multiple problems, but like from the veteran's perspective, and I'm sure you can say this as well, is like when you just find like the to get into the VA is a climb, right?
We're making that better too.
It's like you're Frodo, but there's no Samwise Gamgee, and you have no help at all, and then you finally get there, and then you're there, and then it's even harder. Now, it just feels like insurmountable. So by the time you're in a place where you're talking to people about it, you're just like so understandably emotional that it's hard to not react. And I've seen that, and I've been in a place where I'm just like, come on, especially when I was working, I don't want to name the organization, but it's I worked at a bunch of different healthcare organizations around town, so I'm like, I know how this works. Just put the referral in. And but people don't see that, and I understand their feelings too, because it does feel like a void, especially with the older cats. I mean, the Agent Orange group guys. I mean, those are the ones I'm actually trying to push that community just as much as GWAT and everyone else, because they're the ones who need the treatment the most.
They do. I'm getting ready to make a statement that makes, and you talk about cultures. The culture is not something. I just can't come in. It's not a light switch. I can't come in and necessarily change the entire culture. I can begin the process of the tube of pushing it through so that people buy into it, because the culture is what comes out of the end of the tube. But everybody, they have this vast assumption that culture just is this top level thing, and all of a sudden it changes everything. Well, it may from a decorative point or a messaging point, but unless it gets deeply ingrained into the organization, no matter what organization it is, it's not culture in that sense. That's why the Marines, and I say this with love and respect, I spent part of my time as Navy with Marines at Pendleton, is the Marine culture is something y'all developed for 250 years. It's not, you didn't all of a sudden just decide to be Marines in the sense of what you have now. The VA is a similar situation in the sense that we're having to break our own straps because we've gotten very comfortable. I describe it as what we do many times here at the VA is we're like somebody who goes and gets plays golf. They go get lessons, and they have a new clubs, and they go to the lessons, they're doing well, and then they go out on the golf course, as will happen, and they take that new driver out, and they slice it. They say, okay, first time I'm just nervous. Next hole, they hook it.
Yeah.
Next hole, slice. And the tendency at that point, for most people in organizations, is to put the new driver back in, get the old driver back out, and change back to your old swing because it's comfortable. And you may have to line up sideways because your slice is going over here, so you swing over here and land in the middle of the fairway, which is not what you need to do, but it feels comfortable.
You just got to adjust your feet,
So what I'm about to say is going to make a lot of people uncomfortable because there's no reason a veteran should have to have any assistance beyond, unless they have a need to apply for the earned benefits at the VA. Now, we have a lot of people who do great work and help, VSOs and a lot of others who help people navigate this system. My question is, they have a DD-214, they've earned the benefit, why are we making it so difficult? And we're right now looking at this to the process. Like one of the issues right now, we're working to take this out of our process. In our first applicant for disability benefits, there's a whole page that asks you for your military history. Why do I need that? I don't need that. All I need is your name, your social security number, your DD-214. That's all I need. But yeah, we're making them fill out where they served and everything else. I can pull that. We're looking to pull that completely out of the paperwork. We're looking, again, legal makes us put in a lot of stuff, but the question is, again, not for all these people who have grown up and grown industries and everything else to help veterans get what they need. I'm very proud of them. I appreciate what they're doing. But my question is, why are we there to start with? Why are we in a position to where there is a group that has to help veterans get what they've already earned? So for me, this is a passion that's going to take a long time. And probably, oddly enough, I'm going to get very much pushback. Not from your normal, where you would think it's going to come. I'm going to get pushback from the folks who many times want to help veterans.
Yeah, they have an office not far from here. They don't like me at all. I don't care.
Yeah, but if we're helping veterans, and I'm not a part of it in that way anymore, then how can I find a new way to be helpful?
Yeah.
But I'm very comfortable with we're helping. And look, again, hear me clearly and run this tape over and over and over. If you're having slow problems hearing, run it down to half speed or you run it up to speed. I appreciate everybody who is working on helping our veterans get what they need.
Yes.
But it is incumbent on my seat to ask the question, why is it so hard? Why are we needing this help? What can we do to make it easier that veteran can walk in, get their health care that they've earned, get that benefit they've earned, and we don't need that. So then we can focus our other energies on TBI, PTSD, all these other issues out there that we need to focus on.
Well, and you take the words right out of my mouth because, as I'm sure you know, this podcast is sponsored by an organization that helps veterans get their benefits.
And I'm proud of them, yeah.
But when they came to me and I was looking for a partner, I said the exact same thing. I appreciate that you exist, but I don't like that you exist, right? Because they shouldn't. There shouldn't be VSOs that dedicate without, I don't want to get in trouble, that dedicate a lot of resources and time and energy to something that should just flow through.
But in all fairness, there's a need for what they do.
Yeah.
And so I commend them for that need. And I commend them for finding that need.
Yeah.
But I want them to know from my perspective, and this is everybody, from the veteran on down, I'm not picking on any VSO at all or any person. I want them to know there's a secretary out here that wants to make it so easy that we find other ways to help veterans than the paperwork that it takes to get in.
Yes, because that's what I want. I want those dollars going somewhere else. I want those programs supporting other things. Yep. Like, it shouldn't be to where that's such a sticking point, right? Because, one, I support people's right to choose. We live in a capitalistic society. I can pay my taxes online for free. Yeah. However, I'd much rather pay my CPA, who knows a lot more about it and can offer level care. And that is, having the right to choose is a freedom.
Well, think about it. Because like I said, I was in Congress for 8 years. If most of my constituent services were not tied up with one organization, think about what else they could do. You know, if they wasn't taking every 6 out of 10 calls were going to a VHA question, a VBA question, or a cemetery question, then maybe they could be helping people, you know, with other issues that they have going on, or actually looking at ideas that make life better. We're going to get tied up into wherever we are, and we're going to devote resources and time and energy to wherever we are. Like I said, so you and I are on the same page here. I love the folks that are helping my veterans. I will always support them, but I think it's incumbent on me because I have a different job. My job is not to be there to walk them through. My job is to make that process better. My job is to make sure that I can somehow, in a few years, drop from 60% to say 40%, 30%, of people thinking that the only way they can get help in the VA is to call their elected official. And if that's the only way they can, pick up that phone and call them. That's what those elected officials are for. That's what their members of staff are. But what has anybody ever thought about it, that maybe the Secretary of VA ought to be spending a lot of their time on thinking how this organization can function better for one individual and one purpose only, and that is the veteran? Or is my job to simply, or anybody who sits in this table's job, is to sit around and have meetings saying, wow, we're doing good, here's our metrics. No, my job is not to do that. Mine is a change agent. I'm here for a certain amount of time. I'm not here for anything else. My wife and I came back to D.C. and live in a one-bedroom condo, away from my dad, away from my family, and everybody else. And I'm happy about it. I'm excited about it.
Really?
So my Shih Tzu's not here, and that's a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
You know, she runs the house for the most part, but she's down on my daughter. But other than that, I'm just up here. It goes back to life. You said, how do you mean these jobs? I don't know what's next for me. I know what the next 4 years look like, and I'm excited about it because I have a president who cares about veterans, and he told me to take care of them. I'm here.
I'll take it.
Yep.
I'll take it. Do you have some time I have some questions.
No.
For you. All right. In that case.
I have you some questions.
No, you can.
So the last sign that I...
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. It was about Coldplay, actually.
Yeah. If you never seen a screw up like that, there we go.
Yeah, that was. I mean, that was rough. That was something very, very immense. I don't know. I couldn't. Yeah.
What's one of the? I mean, what was some? I've seen some of the things. It was amazing. One of us said that Coldplay hadn't had a hit in years, and in one night they get two, or two singles.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just all the faces, him dropping away, all of it. It's just something. But I, like I said, I put out that we were going to be sitting here with you talking. So, yes. I've got some questions of my own, and I took some as well from the audience. And I mean, just from the top, the number one question I get is about benefits, right?
Yes.
Denials, appeals, years of waiting, and it just feels insurmountable by a lot of people. And like for me, what had happened was I was working at a nonprofit at the time. I got really lucky, and I'd met Ken Huber, and he was like, "You should talk to Bob." And I was like, I'm not calling former general. Like, I'm not calling. And he's like, no, you should do it. He put his number out. You should talk to him. And he was able to help me get everything through. And that was how I was able to finally get the rating after 8 years. And I know there's a lot. I've been listening. There's like bills that are trying to be pushed through about the Change Act, the Guard Act, and all these different things. And my position on it is I'm willing to throw whatever I can to get veterans into the VA, especially after you said 60% of veterans haven't had any contact with the...
Oh, death by suicide, yeah.
Death by suicide, haven't had any contact at all with the VA, because I think that's where it starts.
Yeah, we don't sign them up. Yeah.
The access to care, access to benefits, and then they're on the downhill slope.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to... when I hear that, I know you're not a part of this, and I'm not asking for you to say anything.
I'm the VA, so
I'm the VA's not. You're not pushing laws, but like, it worries.
I wish I could at times now.
Oh. It worries me that there's this one faction who's like, we're the ones that help veterans the best. You should always choose us, whatever. And then there's the other group who's like, just have the right to choose. And I'm for freedom. Yeah. Everyone should have the right to choose. I don't think we should use legislative power to restrict freedom because it's a very slippery slope, especially in a capitalistic society.
Well, look, I think here's in a bigger program, I'll try to comment. I voted for the Mission Act. I was there when Choice was passed. I was there when Mission Act was passed. I was there when the wait time scandals of Phoenix and Augusta and everything was there. So that's how all that came. And it very specifically in the law says that you're to have a community care outlet. Now, in true congressional fashion, we tagged that with, well, if you're 30 miles away, or, I'm being facetious here, but your mileage away, or how long does it take you to get there, or these kind of things. Because we had to have, quote, some control on it because from a financial standpoint. Because it is, and just upfront honest, it is more expensive for the VA, but not prohibitive, but it's more expensive for the VA to pay in the community than it is to do direct care because we have our own hospital, just like anyone would have. But that, for me, that's fine. It's what we do. We're having a budget for that now. It's one of the reasons why the previous administration, unfortunately, had kept more inside. In fact, I saw this in the budgetary process where they were allotting community care dollars and where they were not allotting community care dollars.
Interesting.
Because it's more. So we have to understand that. So there's a lot of folks out there that say, well, it'll be just so much cheaper if you just gave them the card and let them go out in the community. Be careful on those numbers. It's probably not going to be what you think. Then you get the disability side. And this is where there's a lot of frustration and confusion. Number one, is the obvious up front. Not everything you have is going to be service related. And there's a lot that goes in it. Now, with PACT and with a lot of other stuff that we've done, we've made a lot of presumptives. I mean, there's a lot. There's still some that's not, that we're still working through to see, is this something that could be easier to get the rating? There's also another group of veterans out there that are very amazed at some things because we've not modernized them in 60 years. You're getting a higher disability rating for some things that you would not expect, to get, and that causes some friction within the community and a veteran community, and I get that too. The other thing is that understanding that not everything is service related, even if you believe it to be, the law still also dictates in many ways how we do that. Now, there's also the side of policy and regulation that's within our control and how we do it. What I'm wanting to do is make it clear that we can get these things out quicker. Number one, you talked about waiting forever. There's some things that we could just knock out just like this. And instead they go through a system and we've done it this way before. That's the way we always done it. So we're modernizing and we're putting some automation that still has eyes on it, but that can knock out ear, tendonitis, those kind of things. We knock those things out pretty easy. We know that you're going to be there.
Some of them are pretty given based on
some of them are pretty, but
like occupational skills.
Yeah, we see them all the time.
Yeah.
As we go. Now, the next step is though, and this is where we get into a little bit more, the Board of Appeals, where a lot of people get lost.
Yeah.
Okay. What I found out also, and we're working to correct this, is there's VBA standards. That's the benefit side of your initial department. So then you can appeal whatever they say. Well, what I found out was, and this is where my law comes in. You always talk about why are you a lawyer? How this go? Well, if I take a case to court and I lose at the trial court, then my appeal is based on something that was done in the trial court. Okay, we do the evidence, we do everything there, and if I feel the judge didn't do something right or something was wrong in the court, then I appeal that to the appeals court. I don't appeal my whole case. It's not a matter of if I lose and we're found guilty. I don't appeal guilty to the appeals court. I appeal what happened. What we found out here was, and so the appeals court only rules on that. Or they send it back to the court. What I found out here was VBA would make the determination, and I'm being very simplistic here, so for all these who've done this for years, I used to be into, I'm not, if you want to get technical, I'll write you charts and everything else, I get it. But I'm just trying to explain it to the average person. To get to the benefits to the appeals court or board, and they're using a different standard. They can take in more information. They can take in more evidence. They can take in other, and you can have help, like attorneys and other stuff that help you with your filing. They can hold it up. And again, some people don't realize this, that if they add to their filing. It lengthens the time. They're on a docketing system. If you miss your appointment, sometimes people miss their docketed time. You don't just wait till the next week. You go all the way to the bottom. That's why, and this is in law. This is in statute. This is why I'm trying. Congress, I need you to fix this.
Yes.
Okay? So that we don't get bound to this docketing system. We also don't have any sort of like what we call fast track. So like things that we see a lot of, you could just have what we call in the legal world, we call it a rocket docket. The judge sits there and he says, here's what I'll take these cases. They're all similar. We're going to do all of them in a day. Like for instance, back home, we're going to do all the divorces here that are simple. We're going to do all of y'all on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Line up. We're going to do them all done.
Yeah.
Knocks the cases out.
Next.
We can't do that. Okay. So does it take a long time? Yes. If you add stuff to your appeal after you've been denied, it's going to take you even more time. If you wait later in the process, it's going to take you more time. So these are the kind of things we're now trying to align the board and the VBA on similar standards so that we're able to process these claims and get them done quicker. And if the board has a better way to do it, then we're going to look at it from that perspective and say, how do we adapt this into VBA if it vice versa as we go? So it's not a simple answer. It's not that they're just holding my claim and don't want me to get to it. There's a lot of different things that go into it as we go forward in the claims adjudication process as opposed to the original disability claim. And not everything, by law or by regulation is a part of just you say it, we believe it. And I'm not trying to make that simplistic, but there does have to be a little bit of a process going through here. Because there always is everything else. There's a financial component to that as well.
Yeah.
So I know it probably what I've just said infuriated half people on one race and infuriated half people on the other side. And I'm just saying we're working to get that quicker. That's when I go back to the disability claims backlog. We're also now just in the first little bit, I got a word back from BBA over the past couple of months. We're actually getting to where we're processing more than we're taking in. Now think about that one for a second.
That's good.
So it's very good.
Yeah.
But we're not done that. We dropped the overall caseload from over 1 million to down, I think we're at 700,000 now. We're moving these things through. People are going to see their results of this. Now, that could also mean that some of them are not going to like what they hear. And for a variety of reasons, then they're going to appeal to the board. It's about 16%. I can't remember the exact total right now coming up. So they're going to appeal, and so they're going to run into this delay, and they say, I can't get my appeal process. Well, that's part of this process. But we're going to get them through so you get a better answer quicker.
Perfect. Is there any thought of maybe pushing or looking for external partners to help with the backlog or filing the claims, like partnering outside of the VA?
There has been some, but again, some of the claims, though, this is where we've gotten, and I've been learning on this as well, the actual raters and the ones who actually get into the final decision, the experience level and the knowledge level there is fairly immense. It's not just simple because we have to go on precedent. We have to go on, a lot of different things that are set there. So we're trying to make that easier for them through AI and some technology where they can pull up everything. They see it all at one time. Then they know by their experience how they relate that. But there's some ways that, that anything we can do, we're looking at. But that is a sensitive. And also we got, of course, privacy issues and everything else.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it would have to be vetted and stuff, but because it sounds like it's a multi-tiered problem in addition to having a backlog and all the different technology issues. There's also a sign-up issue.
Well, and
how many veterans are in America right now?
The numbers between 14 and 15 million.
15 million?
Yeah. And we've been 9 million of those are actually within the system.
Within VA healthcare.
So you got about 5 million gap out there that's not. And some of those will never be a part of the VA. And I'm okay. You may not ever hear a secretary say that. If you want to use your benefit, use them. If you don't want to use them, I love you. You're still a veteran.
Yeah.
Go do what you need to do. But there is this, unfortunately, there's this thought that does get in the way of choice and get in the way of that. Well, you can only do the VA. No, you can go other places too, but you can also do both.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. You can do both.
Yeah. Yes, you can. Sorry, there's a lot to process. I'm going to jump around because these are just the questions I took. We're here to get down, so get on your feet.
We're getting close to football season, so.
Oh, yeah.
Get the Wisconsin jump around.
Oh.
I'm throwing him off. I got the sign is going to come up. I'm blank. I don't know what to do with this guy.
No, it's just I'm trying to be objective, but I like you, and it's hard.
Okay, I'll be mean.
No. This is like the best time I've ever had talking to a pastor. Usually it's pretty bad.
Okay, son. No, we don't do that.
Please, I don't want to do flashbacks in the VA's office. That's too much for me. I didn't mean to break that drum at VBS, sir. I'm sorry. That's a real story.
So that's why the Kool-Aid still.
Yeah.
I get it.
So many veterans, a big issue in veterans from that I've noticed personally and anecdotally, and all my friends have been their hormone levels, male and female, right? Okay. And from toxic exposures to TBIs, brain injuries, and it's off the charts. I even at one point was doing hormone therapy to the VA, and I went to a primary care, and he's like, "All right, cool, get you tested. Levels are low. Cool, let's bring you back up. Test me again. Great, they're up." And I go, "Awesome, what's next?" And he goes, "I can't give you any more medicine till your hormones drop again below the normal level." And I go, "Sir, that's not how medicine works." And he's like, "Well, that's how it works here."
Yeah.
And it just seems to be something that could easily be invested more into for the veterans' health care, especially as preventive medicine is the best medicine, right?
Exactly.
And we've learned so much over these past few years about how important that is. I just didn't know if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, look, we're examining a lot of things, especially in that areas from, I just call it the whole spectrum, and I just use the broad term mental health, whether it come whatever the reasoning issue or just in general, but also from injury, whether it be, a physical injury as we go through, or even moral injury as we see this. And the hormonal use is something that, we're going to continue to explore. I'm also I am the first VA secretary that actually said I'm willing to look in and do clinical trials on psychedelics. And
I got it right here.
Yep. The psychedelic issue, because I believe it is something that is working. I think clinical trials so far have shown it to be working. I think I'm very concerned that we make sure that it is right, and that sometimes just because everybody runs off and does something and it worked for a number of people doesn't mean it might be right for everybody.
Yes.
But we are seeing good things, and we're doing MDMA, we're doing psilocybin, we're doing others. Now I'll go ahead and hit it here. Ibogaine is the one that we hear it all the time.
Well, I've literally done it.
It's not approved.
Yeah, it's not approved.
I cannot use it in the VA in my clinical trial. I can't do it now. FDA is my understanding, and under Bobby Kennedy over at HHS, they're looking at this. If it becomes, then we can do.
Seriously?
It goes through their process. That's the process that they have to do on how they classify it.
Because it is
not
outlawed.
With me.
It is outlawed in America. So
it's because it's not been approved. That's
by the
why
FDA. Yes.
So, but if they do it, then we can look for clinical trials on how we can do this. We're doing that. We have more than 12 clinical trials going on that involve and through our VA that involve psychedelics. There's more coming. And I'm meeting with groups all the time that are doing this. And one of the things that I'm looking at is I'm looking for them to find the cures, as best you can find that, without the dependency that we've had on pharmaceuticals, whether it be depression medications, anxiety medication, other things like that. Because to me, you're not fixing something if then you have a lifelong sort of need for the other. Now, for some, that will be that's what will work for them. I just want the veterans to know that we're not ignoring this. Congress can have some help here if they can, but just know that the VA is looking at everything we can to help you. But there's a mass number out there that is, that we're having to get to, because it would be irresponsible of anybody sitting in this seat to do two things. One, ignore it, which is what has happened up for a long time now. Or number two, to just say, heck with it, go do what you want to do. Both of those are, frankly, in my opinion, irresponsible. The responsible way is let's use it, let's find the right words, and then push as many as we can toward that treatment.
Why do you think it's been ignored so much until now? I mean, as someone who's done it, I went to Tijuana, Mexico. I did it through I'm sure you've heard of them. Marcus and Amber Capone? Yeah, so I went through the VETS program with them, and I know a lot of people. I had friends who's done it as well. It's been life-changing for them. They also have gone through other programs that are not farmers. But they've done that, but they've also done other things. The Shepherd Center in Atlanta is one of the greatest. Their share military programs is incredible.
Well, you have that. You got Warrior Path. You've got Marcus Institute. You've got so many. There's so many good stuff out there that are doing so many good things. But understand, when it comes to me as I can do it, we're going to look. We'll be able to make a program and a protocol to use it. Why it's not been? I explained this one time to a person who was in cannabis, and this was an issue with marijuana. They just couldn't understand why everybody just didn't say, let's just do this. It works. It's not they went through their long litany. And I said, that's a great argument, except for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
For probably the 25% or 30% of the U.S. that is under 30 or 35 that really are more open and part of this discussion, you're missing the 70% that make policy and make everything else that were taught for 75 years. This was bad.
Yeah.
Bad. Don't go there.
What was it? Something I was talking about, but there was the propaganda film that came out.
Oh
about
yeah,
marijuana.
it goes back almost 75, 80 years ago. And look, were there bad elements on
Reefer Madness? It came to me. That's what it was.
Reefer was one, but there's also a lot. And does it have some very dark history? Yes, it does.
Yes, any drug abuse does.
Well, but then it was also used against because we didn't like it. Okay, and that's just go for those of you who watch and get way too into podcasts and everything else. You can Google this. You can find this on your own. But what I'm saying is that's been built up. My dad, I shared earlier, my dad was a state trooper.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, that was, law enforcement, marijuana. You didn't, it was a drug.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do drugs because, and it's the gateway. And then the next thing you know, you're smoking a joint. The next day you're hanging off the bridge on heroin, and that's the way it was always done.
Yes.
Remember, and I'm very practical when it comes to this stuff, and people maybe they get offended or they think I'm being too simplistic. Look at Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the average age of Congress.
100.
Well, that's close, but that's the Senate. No, no, they're older. But and I mean this.
It's like the ship from the
they're all
Pirates of the Caribbean thing. They're all a part of it.
The average age is 50 plus. Okay?
Yeah.
So think about this generation. You got to know your audience, just like you know your audience online.
Mm-hmm.
The audience they were taught for years this was bad.
Yes.
For either right reasons or wrong reasons. They kept the research at bay and money at bay, so it wasn't research. So in HHS and all the others, there's a new dawning literally in this area right now. Does it mean that it's going to provide every answer we want? Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
But should we be looking at it? Yes. And that's why I'm committed to doing that. I think that we're doing a very measured approach. We're making sure that it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate everybody who's had great experience, just like yours.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the organization, it's going to take a little bit longer, but we're moving there where we've not been moving in the past. And I think that's a good thing.
Well, and what gives me hope is your hesitancy, right?
Yeah.
Because I was there during the opioid epidemic. Yeah. And I don't know what epidemic they were talking about because every 30 days my prescription showed up like that.
Yep.
And they threw so many pills. It's like a VA starter pack. No one blinked. I remember I came home with my Piggly Wiggly bag of
the pig.
Up, down, hydrocodone, Ambien, Valium, the whole thing. My wife was like, "What'd you tell him?" And I was like, "It was my first appointment." Like she could not believe it. And so that's what makes me go, well, you guys didn't blink there when the Sattler family was throwing these pills down our throats. Why is there this weird hesitancy when we're just going to do trials? Like, let's just do trials. Let's just see what's happening.
Yeah.
And but the fact that you're open to it is, that'll be what leads the charge.
Well, I think it will. And look,
because we're running out of time.
I will not deny we're not seeing great results. Okay.
I'm running out of friends.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to try not to, I'm going to try my best to hold it together through some of these questions, but that's just where I'm at.
Oh, I know.
And, for me, I desperately think about quitting everything I'm doing every single day. Mm-hmm. I'm tired. It's not because I feel like I'm not making an effect. I feel it's like a certain point, like I don't know how to be the best advocate for my community. And it can be defeating sometimes because every time I put someone in the earth, a part of me goes with them and I can't keep doing it.
You don't get the report every day.
Yeah.
I do.
I can't imagine.
I get the report every day. So from you with personal friends with me, when I took this job, you've heard me say it. People have heard me say it. They're my veterans and they're my VA. And so when I see the report that says that I had another one of my veterans go to actual facility and take their own life, a part of me dies every moment. And so this is why we do what we do. Mm-hmm. This is why I can't wave my pixie dust wand and make everything go away, but I can make it better. And the reason I say for you and for anybody else in this area trying to help is every day get up and make progress, and that's how we're gonna win.
Yeah.
And don't stop, because if you don't stop, there's somebody that's not going to fill it in. So for me, it's waking up every day saying, how can we make this better for a community that needs it, for a country that asked for sacrifice and commitment, and now we're trying to give it back in ways that can work. And again, one of the other things is that we run into, and I talk about this, and it's not an excuse necessarily, but it is also an issue, is that we've also got to have the people, just as you talked about the opioid and everything else, we also got to have doctors and therapists and everybody properly trained in how to do this stuff and how to administer this stuff. And that's, again, it's problematic when it's not trained in the local schools and everything else.
No, it's not. And it's tough because, like, it feels a lot of times like when you're doing this work, like I have this dream, I've never talked about this publicly. I have this dream that I'm just at funerals and there's more and more people with me, but as time goes on, I go older and there's less and less of my friends that are there because they're not here with me. And it's the reason that I keep moving forward now, because I don't know what level of change I'm able to affect, but I know that I'll go down swinging.
Yep. It's the ripples you talked about earlier.
Yeah. I'm trying.
You don't see the ripples, but you got the issue is doing that. From my perspective, is my job is not to have the end result. My job is to make the best difference that I can with the moment that I have left. And I'm in my late 50s now.
Yeah.
When I was in my 20s, I couldn't imagine my 50s. Now I look back and I'm the same age as my father was when I first started having kids, when I first got married. Start putting life into perspective. And here's what will get you going. I hope others who are watching this, who in the scriptural admonition, do not grow weary in doing good. Because every once in a while, there'll be someone or something, and it'll be that, as I talked about earlier, that phone call, that call. I'll have somebody come up to me from some time, and whether I was a pastor or was other, and I've had the fortunate, and they'll come up to me and they say something that you made a difference. You, if I wouldn't be here, and I got this letter one day from a young man who sent it, and this was back years ago, and they just out of the blue, I got this letter, and it had a picture, and it had this gentleman with a family, and he said, when I came to, it was back in the church space when I was pastoring, he said, if it hadn't been for you and what you did and Johnny, who was the other guy, I wouldn't be in this picture. I wouldn't, and here's the interesting part was, and I say this just with love, when I opened the envelope, I didn't recognize the name. I opened the picture, I didn't necessarily recognize the face, but I read what he said, and that was a ripple I could have never predicted. So all I'll say to anybody, any caregiver, anybody out there fighting this, the ripples of life you don't see. But I believe with faith, and my faith teaches me that one day I will see those ripples probably in ways that I'll never understand. And I don't think we were put here to not only always see the ripple, we're just here to start ripples.
Amen. Do you think your faith has been a constant component that's helped guide you through your life?
The only thing that's got me through. If it is, I have to depend on me. I'm not good in that ultimate God role. When you don't depend on others, when you say I'll make all and it's all on me, then you put more pressure than you ever built to have. Now that doesn't mean that you're not an independent thinker. That doesn't mean that you don't go out and try. But for me, when I sit at that desk right over there and I start the morning as best I can every day, and I'll read scripture and I'll be reminded that it's something, when I put my faith in something bigger than myself, I don't have to have all the answers. I just have to be me. I was made to be me. I wasn't made to be anything else. I was made to be me. And if all as I'm doing that part, and I acknowledge what I've been given and my faith in him, that's what keeps me stable. Otherwise, I told somebody one day recently that, and if you looked at the past 30 years of my life, through pastoring, sitting with people, you know, one of the first weeks I was as a pastor was a young lady I was called to go see. She was in her parents' front room, and these little houses at Chicopee were either 4 rooms or 5 rooms or 3 rooms. That's just the way the mill houses were made. And she was laying on a sofa. She had pancreatic cancer that had come from breast cancer, or the breast cancer part, and it developed and spread. I'll just leave it at that. She had 2 young kids. She had been through all the treatments, and she had not gone to the doctor because she was busy, didn't want to, and she sort of said, I didn't, because I'd asked her when did it get treated, and it didn't get caught till it was already metastasized and everything. And she said, well, I didn't want to go, I didn't want to spend the money, and you know, I felt I was fine. And she's now looking at 2 kids that she'll never raise. It's in my first week of being a pastor. I was 28 years old. God, we starting on the top end here? How do I explain this? And when she looks at me, she says, why? You know, look, too many people today ask why. And it's a good question because I ask it here all the time. Why? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? But when it comes to the life's bigger questions, especially those faith issues, why will lead you to a place you probably don't want to go. The question is, what? It's not why. Why? Again, from my perspective, I may not know this side of heaven, and I may not know there. Because it actually says it's going to be good there. I don't have to relive this. So my question is, what? This has happened. What now? And for any veteran looking at this, anybody out there, no matter what you're going through right now, why you will beat your head up against the wall, but what can get you to the next day? What can get you to the next week? What can get you to the next month? And for her, and I look back on this, if she'd have took and had made choices, which she didn't, and there's no way to go back and change it, it may have been different because that breast cancer made them they got it early, should have been there, and should have been here to this day. But unfortunately, the why, it's too late to go back and ask those. It's the what now. And that's how you deal with life, and you go through it.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that.
It's tough. Then you go through life, and it's just all the experiences. It's just all the experiences. I wish. Look, if I told my friend one day, I said, because I've got a couple of buddies or pastors and other things. I said, one of these days, after I'm finally done with all this, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna find somebody, and I'm gonna talk about everything in the world that I've held in for years, and they'll either think I'm the craziest person in the world or lying. But we all face that. It's okay. It's okay to feel not okay. And I want our veterans to understand that it's okay to say, I'm not okay. I need some help.
Yeah.
And no matter what you've been through.
Yeah. And speaking of veterans needing help, and you've talked about it before, veterans in crisis between 2017 and 18, 19 veterans died by suicide on VA campuses, 7 in the parking lot. I don't know how many have taken their lives at Alvin, C. York, and Murfreesboro, Tennessee, but I know one for sure. They were in there trying to get help. Rejected. I don't know the claims. I don't know the specifics of it, but I know that this was like a pattern. It was one of those things. It seemed like it got into the ecosystem and continued to happen. I know this is before your tenure and before your time. What are some changes that are being made to capture those veterans in those rapid crisis movements?
That is one of the hardest things. That's what I told you about the report that I get, because we've had a number this year. We had 1 month. It was we had several, more than what I want. More than one is enough. Is more. Some of those are just hard because I've actually looked into the ones that happen on our campus. I ask questions about it. I want to know what happened, and some of them are concerning. Some of them present just as this is the problem with the issue of death by suicide. And those of us who've actually been on and counseled, I mean, as a chaplain, I've been on both. I've been there with them on the phone. I've been there with them in person, and you don't know. They'll present as completely okay, give you all the right answers, and then literally walk out the door, go to the parking lot, and do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you fix that. I really don't, because if they give no indication, they give nothing, because they've gotten really good at answering the questions.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't take that away. Do we need to ask better questions? Do we need to do something? Yes. I mean, I think there's ways to look at this. But it's just hard to say you could wipe it away, because there's so much in depth, which goes back for me even more that we've got to get the people earlier, because if we're getting them the help they need as they transition out of the military, or as they go through life experiences, or they're coming to their primary care, they're getting that preventative help, they're getting the treatment, hormonal treatment, whatever it may be, that we can start picking it up and keeping them from that place. Because the ones, unfortunately, it just appears that have got to that point where they're going to take their own life, have death by suicide, they're at a point where I hate to say this, they're not going to give off that that becomes their peace. I've heard, and I've been in trainings and all before where they'll say sometimes the people who have ended up in this end, that if they ever get to that sense, if you've been dealing with someone and they all of a sudden are, then be very concerned.
Yeah.
So we have to look at that. We do everything we can. I examine them. I make sure our medical staff, looks at the situation, make sure there's nothing we could have changed. If there's something I think we could, do better, then we try to implement that. But it'll be an ongoing thing for us as long as I'm probably here.
Yeah. Mr. Secretary, excuse me, I'm sorry. The VA's 2024 annual report shows that in 2022, 6,407 veteran suicides, an average of 17.6 per day. And nearly half occurred among veterans not engaged with VA care. And that's actually from news.va.gov.
Yep.
So my question is, I've heard 22 a day for a long time. Is it 22 a day? Is it 17.6 a day? Is it 40 a day? What is the number? Is the real number somewhat incalculable because of the mechanism of that's chosen, or how it's? Because I know two people. I won't name their names, not because of any other reason than I'm to respect their privacy. I'm here. Their family didn't ask for that.
No.
But two Marines I served with, both of them died by suicide. But the way they chose, one was driving a car 150 miles an hour. The other one was on a motorcycle doing the same thing.
Yep.
We had just got back from Marja. That's what happened.
Okay.
But they weren't classified
Right.
as suicide.
Right. I like to say, is that when you give out the several numbers, you say, is that the number? I'll say yes.
Yeah.
Okay. 2008, let's just go back to bigger sort of longitudinal numbers. Since 2008, the number really hadn't changed.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's, as you look at that, that's just, a long time for it never to change. Do we actually know a daily number or not? Probably not, because of just what you said.
Yeah.
Okay. And also there are some areas, I don't care how sort of obvious it may be. There's some in rural areas and some others, the medical examiner or the coroner, which is, by the way, elected in many areas, they're not going to put it on there because of sensitivity reasons for the family.
There's a big cultural sensitivity around it.
You better believe it.
My friend we lost him in June. He came from a very Catholic family, and there was like even talking about just telling me what had happened to him. They were like hesitant. I was like, I need you to tell me very clearly and very specifically what happened.
Yeah. And this is one of those things that, we unfortunately we divide ourselves in this country, blue and red state. This is not a divide. This is every state that has this sort of issue. So the question is what do we try to do about it? And that's, look at it. I think from our perspective here at the VA, we've been spending. I'm sitting, just to be very brutally honest with you, I'm sitting here today because of this.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here doing this podcast because of this. It's an issue that I don't think we're spending a lot of money, $580-something million on suicide prevention, and we're not seeing a number change. So it tells me that if we're doing 60% or 50% of veterans, and again, let me also say something to everybody listening to this. If you're not enrolled in VHA or you're not with us or VA, and you're still a veteran, I don't care. I'm the VA secretary. It didn't say I was a departmental secretary, which I am, but I'm a Veterans Affairs secretary. To me, I take every veteran. So no matter if you get care from us or not, I wanted to make it better for everybody in this. So for us, it's how do we make this better? How do we spend our money better? That's why I'm doing podcasts. That's why I'm doing interviews. That's why our social media is very active. You're going to see even more of that coming up in the future. We've got partnerships with everybody. I've talked to Jelly Rolls folks. I've talked to, that's why I've went to country music folks that I used to do in Congress. We used to do a lot of the music modernization stuff. The country music.
Really?
The songwriters in Nashville are
well, then they love you.
That's family for me.
Oh, yeah.
They love me because we did the Music Modernization Act. And so all those guys down there at National Songwriters Association, Bert Herbison down there, and the rest, we go down there and have a ball with them but they also care about our veterans. And so if they can do something that helps us we've got movie stars, we've got others we're bringing, NFL, NBA, in Major League Baseball. And you're saying, well, you're just doing the show stuff. No, UFC. If I don't care what gets a veteran to think for a second, somebody can help me. I don't care what that is. This goes back again, and from my perspective of faith, when it was Jesus in his teaching, he said this. He said, if you give a cup of cold water in my name, it's ministry, basically is what he's saying. You notice what he didn't talk about in that statement? What the cup looked like. He didn't care what the cup looked like. I think if he would, he was like, well, you have to give it in a special cup made like this. And we have, no, he just said a cup of cold water. So my question is, I don't care what the cup looks like. It can be your hands. It can be a cup. It can be a funnel. It can be whatever. But if it gets the point to somebody that I want to know, that I'm ministering, that I'm giving you hope, I'll use everything I can to do that. And that's why we're sitting here.
Yeah. And it's really awe-inspiring, to be honest, because you're really, I think someone once said, grow where you're planted.
Yeah.
Teddy
Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Bloom where you're planted.
Bloom where you're planted. Oh, that's cool. I like all the legends about him too.
Oh, he's pretty cool. You know where that first came from? One of the first sort of thoughts came from that? When he was appointed police commissioner of New York City.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you think about it back then, police commissioner of New York, that was a bum job back then.
I've watched the NPR documentary, the Ken Burns on him.
Yep.
And he basically went to war with the city of New York and the police.
Willing to, and notice this, he was willing to ruin his entire, because he was told, you do this, your political career is over. Well, he sort of showed them. But, but if just think about it, if he hadn't have bloomed there, he wouldn't have gained the knowledge of how to fight this stuff and everything else. So, again, that's what I just say is bloom where you're planted. And right now, this is where I get to bloom while I'm here. And I hope people will like it, but I'll be frank with you. If I'm taking care of veterans and I feel like I'm doing what is right, I'll do everything I can. And everybody else for a while can just be happy or not. And I'm going to do what I believe is right with the help of Congress, with the help of this president and everybody else. We're going to do what we think's right.
Good.
If you can do better, run for president and appoint somebody else.
Sounds fair to me. Speaking of knowledge, when you first stepped into your role and you peeked behind the curtain, that first 30 days, let's just say that I like that you're laughing. You were like this.
Wait, this is my trauma counseling at this second.
Yeah. when you saw that there was no Great Oz and it was a man, what was it like when you finally got? But was it what you expected? I mean, you probably had a little more knowledge working close to it, but or was it not?
Toto, this isn't Georgia anymore.
No.
It's not Kansas either.
No.
We did. I brought in a great staff, and I think that I can't emphasize that. I don't do any of this without some really good folks with me. From our department heads to our chief of staff to our publicity folks and everybody else. We come in with a common mission to do this. And then I have career people, the 400,000 plus that are here, no matter who the administration is. There's some good folks. And I never, ever, and it's very tough when we were doing some of our reorganization, people were leaving, taking early retirement. Look, that people say, well, this is what you want. You just want to slash them. No, I care about it. I've been fired. I know what it's like to be fired. I know what it's like not have a job. I know what it's like to, to struggle there. And did I like it? No. Did I think it was easy? No. But, the organization exists to serve a purpose, and that purpose was the veteran. So we've had a lot of good stuff. But really what I found was, as I looked behind the scenes, was a lot of and I use this term loosely, but we've always done it that way philosophy. Mm-hmm. This is the way we've always done it. I remember sitting at that table right over there, and they would come and give me briefings and say, well, here's what you need to do, sign off on this, and here's it. And I'm like, well, why? And then you talk about putting sand in the gears. I mean, it was like, well, because this is what we just give you the report.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at one report. It was a legal report, which, again, sometimes you never know. Pastoring comes in, legal comes in, grace and law. For those of you watching on the podcast, Driving on the Road, you'll get that later on.
Yeah.
It's a go. But they handed me a document. It was a legal brief, and I looked at the legal brief, and I said, this legal brief's wrong. Well, and I said, well, don't you think this is the other side? If I played the other side, well, that could be true too. Again, I think that's what puts us in a position to do this. So when you look behind the curtain, you saw a lot of great folks. You saw a lot of organizations that could do so much, but also a lot of moments. Like, why do we do this? We're working on one right now, and I share stuff that probably I shouldn't, but we're talking look at our hiring process. It takes us, we're getting a lot of times people complaining that we're losing folks or folks who don't accept like doctors and stuff to come to the VA. Well, it's taking us 3 or 4 months or longer to get them in the door. Well, why does it take that long? It doesn't take private and public hospitals that long. Why is it taking us? So we're getting ready to strip it down to its core again.
You're changing the hiring process here at the VA?
We're going to get it reback. Good. To get it, look, we're not going to lower standards, but we're also going to say, why does it take so long to do these things?
Why does it take so long?
Because we've always done it that way.
I hate that answer.
I do too.
I'm not saying you, but I despise that
I was in a
answer.
meeting the other day, and the question was, and I was just using this example, and I asked the question. They said, I asked them, how long does it take to do this within our organization? They gave me like 20 days. I said, okay. I said, how long does it take private enterprise? They said 5.
I'll settle for 10.
Okay. Well, then I asked the question. I said, okay. I said, what are we doing? I said, what about the 15 days? Well, we take it in 20. I said, no. Explain to me what happens in this 15 days that is so unique from the rest of the world. And then basically it just goes silent.
Yeah.
And so this is the kind of stuff. So what was the peek behind the curtain? The peek behind the curtain was we were very, and I mean this with love, because I get accused by senators and everybody else of
hating veterans. What?
Just slash the workforce.
Yeah.
And not being. I love the VA worker. They as secretary. If you're an employee of the VA doing your job, you got no greater friend than me. But also, I'm not. Just as I do my own kids and life and everything else, I'm gonna hold you to a standard. And that was the other thing. Standardization in the VA.
Really?
Was non-existent.
That bothers me more.
Yeah. Well, and it arose from some good and some bad. And there's, are there some standardization? Yes, but not what you would think with 170 plus hospitals. They all, and I've told them this was something that the world now knows. We kept it a secret, which was pretty amazing for the VA because we don't leak like a sieve. We're just an open hose at the front of the door. People say, "Oh, let me take this and take a picture and send it to the media." Okay, yeah. We do that all the time.
Yeah,
whatever. God bless you.
Go with all we can do is pray for them.
From my hometown, bless your heart.
Yeah.
But we brought all of our. We had a chance because we needed to do training, so we brought together all of our center directors, our hospital directors, to Dallas a few weeks ago, and they were going to do training, which they were doing. What they didn't get told was I was coming. Good. And so the first day they all get there and everybody's coming in and they do I'm backstage with my folks, detail brings me in back, and they do their
icebreakers and stuff.
Well, they're doing the national anthem, they do the prayer and everything else. And then the voice of God says, and please welcome the 12th Secretary of Veterans Administration, VA, Doug Collins. And I walk up on stage and you can see this, it was almost like, oh my God. It was like, you see half of them stood up, half of them didn't get up, half of them looked weird, and half of them like, and I said, surprise! And, so then we had 2.5 hours of me and them.
Good.
And I laid out where we're going, what we're doing, why we're doing it. I told them I expect them to be leaders. I expect them to do leadership stuff. I don't expect them to be managers. And to come up with solutions.
Yeah.
Since then, I actually, in fact, at one point in the conversation, I said, how many of you have one thing, and I think this is a good behind-the-scenes curtain. So how many of you got one thing you can think of right now that you say, this is stupid? most half the room goes up in their hands.
Perfect.
I said, and I thought for a second, and then I caught myself. I said, write it down. I said, I'll stop. Write it down. You got paper, you got pen. So everybody starts writing it down. I said, there's your first homework assignment.
Yeah.
So last week, I sent an email to every one of them. And I said, remember your homework assignment is due August 1st.
Mm.
And so they're sending all their assignments to me on what they're changing and how they could change it.
Perfect.
And so again, it's not new. I'm not I'm not Steve Jobs here inventing the Apple computer. I'm just going back to basic management techniques to say deadlines matter, just military kind of stuff, but deadlines matter, and what we got to do, takes this effect. So that's the peek behind the curtain for me, is empowering a workforce to do the best they can for veterans. That's my entire job. I'm the storyteller for this department.
And you're doing it so well. And I have 2 more questions. I want to be respectful of your time. Are we bumping up there, Morgan? Okay, a couple more minutes. So there's a lot happening in the world, and I'm not trying to point into like a weird political clickbait thing, but this is me speaking as my perspective as a veteran, and the perspective of the community. We go off to war. We fight battles. We come back. We're changed. We've buried friends. We've lost things. We've lost parts of ourselves. We're coming back into a workforce that's been able to build wealth, stability, and all these different things. And then we try to get reintegrated back into society and just to work through the VA now. But lately it feels like we always have enough money for war, but never enough to cover the cost. And we've got money for bombs for every country under the sun.
Yeah.
Or every other thing that has to happen. I'm not talking about the geopolitical aspects. No. I'm not smart enough to do that. I have friends who can do that. They're not me.
Yeah.
But from the outside perspective, it feels like veterans are the whipping boy of the right and the left and just anyone who wants to look at federal spending.
Yeah. Well,
and I want to know what it feels like to be you, to be the person who has to stand there and be accountable for it, even when the majority of the things that I've seen have been brought for you, you weren't even anywhere close to DC at the time, and they're just like, but you're the guy now.
Oh yeah, and look, I take the ownership of it. I think from our military community, most of them where they look with extreme ownership, Jocko or whatever it is. I take ownership now.
He's a good friend. Yeah,
Jocko's a great guy, and
I could set it up if you want to talk to him.
I would love to.
Okay,
love to. Also, but his business partners also has Babin has got a dad
Leif,
in Congress.
Yeah.
Leif has a dad in Congress.
Yeah. No way.
From Texas. Yeah. So look, but here's the way I've done this. I'm gonna say when we're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If we need to do it better, I'm gonna admit that. But if we're doing it the best way we can with the resources we've been given, then I'm gonna fight and I'm gonna say, look. So I've made it clear that from the VA's perspective, we're no longer the whipping boy in DC.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's real easy. And look, this is where my Hill time comes in. We sort of went full circle in this whole podcast from pastoring and lawyering and Hill time, because I speak Hill. Mm-hmm. It's easy to say, I'm going to, and it's sort of like some of the VSO issues and everything else. We're fighting the very organization that we say that we're wanting to help. And so, it's easy to say, well, they've had the one-off case or two-off cases of somebody missing an appointment. Well, I'm going to do a press release and say the VA's got to get this fixed. Well, here's all I'll say is, for that, I'll stand up and fight, because especially when we were going through, and I've been doing this for the last 6 months, of this is hurting veterans, and I've called out senators, I've called out congressmen, and if they're lying, they're lying. Because here's my problem. I don't care you make valid criticism, but you make a criticism that says, especially that's not true, then what does that say to that veteran out there who's not in our system or barely in our system who's having issues? Mm-hmm. Well, they hear that, and if they don't know the truth, then they're just going to turn away.
And that's what I'm saying. It's the constant, I don't know what the right word is, but it's the constant lack of truth that makes people pull away. But it's everyone that I've lost wasn't in the VA healthcare system. Well, even though they told me they were. They told me they were getting help. They told me they were doing it, but they never were.
We don't admit it. Well, because, look, there's also a generation, unfortunately, and a lot of veterans who don't, and I say that, and somebody told me this the other day, so it sort of floored me a little bit, because I didn't think about it. They said, well, I'm not missing arms and legs. I don't need to go to the VA. Mm-hmm. I said, whoa. That's just one component of what we do it very well, but that's just one component. Mm-hmm. Have you had your blood sugar checked? Have you had your blood pressure checked? Just general practice if you're not going to a doctor. And you've earned the benefit. You're not paying for it. This is go get your benefit. So yeah, this is for us. It's that bigger picture of looking at it from a holistic approach and say, look, we're going to do the best we can with what we have. And are there going to be good days? Yes. They're going to be bad days? Yes. But at the everyday, I've had, as you sort of said, I've had lots of jobs. Probably this one is more. I get up probably more energized to come to this one as much as I have any that I have ever done, because I truly believe at the end of the day, no matter what is said and done, we can make a difference. And I've never seen a more target-rich environment for making it better than I have here.
That's the truth. Well, as we're closing, and again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Secretary, it means a lot to me and to everyone. I just can't thank you enough. But I just wanted to know if you could pick one thing to be known for, or if you could pick what your legacy could be about your time here, what would you want it to be?
I think that he made a difference. He made a difference. That's all I want.
I think that's all anybody can ask for.
Yep.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Sincerely. It's been an honor. Thank you to everyone here for allowing us to be here. And yeah, catch you on the next one.
Sounds good. Thank you much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.